All right, everybody. So, welcome to this episode of Entering the Creative Unknown. And I've been introduced to a new artist who I'm absolutely enchanted by her work. Her name is Shringi Kumari. And I'm going to read her short artist statement and then we're going to just get right into it. So, Shringi writes that she is guided by breath, philosophy, and kriya yoga. Her practice questions its own limits. Through lines, she challenges conditioned thinking, moving beyond boundaries of tradition and ideas of self and freedom. She also runs a small gallery in its Margate. Is that the name of the town?
Yes.
England. And we'll probably hear a little bit about that too. But I can't wait to get into your work. So welcome
Thank
to
you.
this conversation. And before we get into showing your work, I just want to talk a little bit about, and obviously we'll go through this throughout our talk. But what are the mediums like? How do you classify yourself as an artist? As a painter? As a sculptor? What mediums do you work in?
I am primarily working as a painter and I write poetry as well. So a lot of my work also has poetry in it. Uh, but it is part of my paintings. So yeah, a painter. I work on found objects as well, but it's not me sculpting the objects. If I find something interesting, I paint on top of it.
Okay, great. So that's a great introduction to the first slide in our slideshow. So let me just find it here. So this is your gallery.
It is,
And
yeah.
before we move into your work, I just want to talk about why a gallery? Like, what's important to you about showing your work and showing other people's work?
That's a good one. I have been painting for a while now. I've been painting for the last 25 years or something around that time. But I'd never like shown my work until February 2024, till we moved to Margate. So we were living in London before Margate, and it hadn't even occurred to me that anybody would be interested in my work. It was very personal, and I was just doing my thing. Um, we moved to Margate, and somebody liked my work, and they were like, "Shringi, you must show." And I was like, I thought they were kidding because I never thought of myself as an artist, really. Somebody who paints and somebody who writes poetry, but not like a professional show. Uh, they were a gallery curator in Margate, a gallery named Salon, and turns out they were quite serious about it. So we did do a show, and I was very surprised with the positive response and how people related to it. But very soon I realized that if you have to show your work, you have to talk to gallerists and then they will kind of endorse you. And I was like, this sounds really long-winded if I want to show my work. So I thought the easiest thing is to rent a place and put it up. And the reason I wanted to do it is because I just like I didn't recognize that I'm an artist. I'm sure a lot of other people don't think that their work has value. I never undervalued my work, to be honest, but I never thought it's. I'm not a. I'm a raw artist. I'm not a taught artist. My background is different. My actual money making career at that point was different. So I thought like, and Margate is primarily a, a town of local Britishers. You don't see a lot of people who look like me. So I thought that it's quite important to show my work in a public setting as an inspiration that this also exists. There's a type of art which is different. And the first show that the other galleries showed of mine made me understand that, uh, people can resonate with it. So it's really important for me to have the gallery as a statement on inclusivity in the town. Like
Yeah.
instead of me going around galleries and being told it doesn't fit and this and that, not that a lot of that has happened, but you can tell, right? You can tell when you see things around you and how they look. So I was like, we got to write our own narrative. We don't need to wait for others to open doors to us. If there's work and people are directly relating to it, why do I need somebody in the middle? So that's basically why I have the gallery. It's also a space where I work. So I make my paintings. It's a studio gallery. And I just think that it's a blueprint in the town's DNA that something like this
Mm,
exists. And even if you
hmm.
don't like the work, you pass by it you start acknowledging that there are things outside your worldview, which is what my art is all about. So yeah, I think that's why I have the gallery.
I really love that. And it's bringing me to this idea of this is a completely different thing. But I just wrote a piece the other day on framing my first piece of work, my own piece of work, where I took it to like a professional painter and I mean, a professional framer. And that's not cheap. You're
Mhm.
spending, you're investing. And the first time I ever did that was it really changed my whole perspective on my work. Like I'm not a trained artist. I'm probably never, well, I have been in shows before, but I'm not like an artist that's going to show. But something just about pouring into myself by just getting this and acknowledging myself as a person and what was behind my work was so valuable. And I can imagine that, that's part of the reason why I do these conversations is because women artists get passed over so much of the time. And I can imagine that, you have all of these layers of being an artist that doesn't look like the other artists in your community or the work that's being shown in your community, plus being a woman, plus being an untrained artist. There's all of these things that get stacked up against us. And I think even trained artists grapple with their work being valid or not. So this is just, when you open up a gallery like you are, it's such an important act of community. And it's so important. It's a heart center, I'm sure, for a lot of people. So I love that. So we're gonna start going through, and I made this the first slide because first of all, I love when people do paintings inside of a book. And I have 10 million books in my house, and I have an opportunity to do this anytime I want. But I have this hesitation of doing something to a book. It's probably school training or whatever it might be. So I really wanted to start with this because you were talking about your work kind of pushing limits. And to me, painting in a book, even though I know people do it, is pushing a big limit. So can you just talk about this practice? Because I love it.
So I have done a few books so far, and I'll talk about this particular one because it'll give an insight into what books I choose and why am I doing this book. You know what? Incidentally, it's sitting right next to me right now because I don't know if you can see it. Oh no,
Hold it
that's
in front of your face, like sit regular and hold it in front of your face. Oh no, come close. Okay, come a little closer. Okay, stop right there. Yeah, sort of. Oh, there it is.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So uh, let me see if I can change the background easily. I'm not used to Zoom. Anyways, so what's this thing? This particular book is something called Testament of Jode by somebody called Mr. Mr. Jode, CEM Jode. Now, I saw this book in a charity shop, and it like the cover got my fancy. So I thought, what is in it? And I happened to open a page, and that particular chapter was very anti-feminine. So it was saying how women don't think before they're shopping or something like that. Or like I haven't read the whole book. I read that chapter and it just felt wrong to me. And I was like, what are they talking about? Now, people who've read this book might tell me that that's not about it at all. In the next chapter, he goes ahead and negates it. I don't know. But everything I read, so I read bits and pieces, and it came across as patronizing, it came across as anti-women. So I thought this is a prime candidate where nobody needs to read this book. So I took this book and I have updated the name from Testament of Jode to Testament of Jodha. And Jodha
Oh,
is an Indian warrior. She's a warrior princess. And I've gone ahead and changed the whole index of the book to be so I have gone ahead and changed
yeah,
the
there it is.
whole index, what the chapters say. So I've changed the whole
Wow.
thing, and then I'm going into each and every page and
Wow.
writing the story of Jodha. So if anybody reads it, every page is now transformed with the painting. to the story of the warrior princess, or you can call it your own inner warrior. And the other books I've done, the first one that caught my fancy was a book called Geography of, no, actually it was a Greek lexicon. But I've done three of them. So one was Geography of Britain, and it was a nice book, but it was a Geography of Britain. And when I read it, I kept thinking that the Geography of Britain is defined with too much. There's a lot of history there, and a lot of painful history in what makes the Geography of Britain the Geography of Britain.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe this is a way for me to redefine my relationship with Britain, because this is where I live. And obviously, I'm from India, so we have a lot of trauma of colonization. So when I took that book, I wanted to sort of reinterpret the maps of Britain. So
Mm,
in that book, it was Geography of Britain. So I went into each page and adapted the maps into paintings just to figure out my relationship with the geography of Britain. So similarly, the books that I pick, they're not any book. So another book I did was it was a Greek lexicon. It was a small Greek lexicon, and I wanted to look at it from the lens of like anti-dogma and anti-prescription. So I made paintings on every page, kind of taking the beauty of the lettering and questioning the dogma behind it. And another book I did was Last Days of Pompeii, which is about religion and love and this. So wanted to interpret that story with paintings, talking about how these different facets of life come together into who we are. So when I'm picking these books, I'm being very choosy with what the subject matter is. And especially this one, I'm more than happy that nobody really reads it. So I'm painting every page. Whereas the other ones, I've not painted every page. I've taken parts of it and then modified it. So it's different for different books. And I go in and do blackout poetry as well. So I pick words within it and change the poetry of the book or rewrite it, so to say. And in the authors, I then start saying Mr. Mr. Jode and Shringi Kumari, and not just Mr. Jode. So I'm just
it should be Shringi Kumari and Mr. Joe.
yeah. So that's what's happening with the books, and
Oh
it's
my gosh,
like
that is incredible. And I'm picturing you as you're speaking to me. I'm thinking of like the creative process in this book. It's like a threshold space, because you're walking out into, you have the book. And then I'm like, had this visualization of you like going through like this labyrinth or this spiral of some kind, just like creating and restructuring, and then coming out at the end. It's like you've alchemized something that maybe the author or the country or whoever is the subject matter or the creator of a piece wasn't able to actually alchemize themselves. It's like the idea of you saying like, well, this is for me, but also you need this and you don't even know it. It's like there's
yeah,
there's this
it's
idea that it's
uh,
the idea of like, when our trauma isn't seen. I mean,
I'm just
trauma
showing it.
creates.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Is that the actual cover? Is that that's the cover that you?
No, no,
Oh
that's the
wow,
cover I've painted.
wow, 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 wow. Yeah.
I've
Well,
removed.
let's.
Yeah, so it's basically I've gone into every kind of page, and there are like
Incredible.
uh drawings of the princess. So I just wanted to show that.
Yeah. Let's start going through your work because it's hard to see in there. And if
Yeah,
you feel free to, at
same.
the end, if you feel like sending me photos of these, I can include them because there's a slideshow at the end. But that's totally up to you. Okay, so I didn't put the pieces in the order that you sent
Yeah,
them. I was so intrigued by this piece. And I'd like you to speak on it before I speak on it. And I also want to talk about the materials that you used. At
yeah.
first, when I was looking at your pieces, I wasn't sure if these were actually threaded.
These are so this will give insight into the book as well. So the material I choose usually already has a life that it has lived. So for example, I'm working on books, it has already has a meaning and I'm going from there. Or And I work on a lot of found objects like that, or I work on handmade khadi paper. So this is a handmade khadi paper. So artisans in India, they take cotton, they clean it, they bind it. So each paper has its unique rhythm because it's handmade. Uh, and khadi as a movement is about self-reliance. So a lot India got independence. A lot of it is down to uh, a movement where we started making our own clothes, we started making our own objects, and this movement uh, has the term khadi. And so this paper is khadi paper, which to me has the meaning of self-reliance and the meaning of making with your hands. And the paper has a lot of life to begin with, just like the book. So if you see the empty paper, it's just a white paper. But like you said, right, you can see the weave, you can see the threads, and each one is unique. It has nice uh, decollage, etc., because it's handmade. So what I do then is I continue work on the paper with the life it already has, and I use breath as my medium to guide me into what I'm going to make. So I don't plan what I'm going to make beforehand. So I the lines that you're seeing are basically in the rhythm of my breath, so my fabric. And this is inspired by Kriya Yoga. So when I was younger, I learned Kriya Yoga, and basically Kriya Yoga is breathing exercises. And when I paint, I think about the rhythm. So, when we are doing anything that we do, like I'm talking to you right now, or walking, or watering plants, or cutting vegetables, like whatever we do, sweeping the floor, there's a rhythm to it. And I'm trying to mimic that rhythm through lines, through the breath work. Um, Yeah, so that's the general technique that I'm using. The colors, they're inspired by fire, air, earth, water. So I use elemental colors. And the reason to use elemental colors is I'm trying to see that all of the things that exist have beauty to it because of the elemental nature of it, whether it's breath or, our skin colors or whatever it is, like there is elemental nature to it. So I'm replicating bits and pieces of it, thinking that if in nature it makes sense. And if I just give in to that on paper, it should make sense, right? So it's questioning
Mm,
the possibilities of if I use these guidelines, what comes out? And then
mm,
different creatures and different types of things come out on paper. A lot of the times I meet them the first time myself. So it's not very planned. Uh, so it's hard to talk about each piece as if what happened because it's a flow and then something comes out. And when it finishes is when I look at it and then I go like, okay, wow, what is this about? What's going on? Right? So this particular one, actually, it started with very muted colors. It was very like beige and it was a whole different color palette. But there are many layers on this painting because it kept growing. It's a small piece of painting, but I've painted it quite like for a long time. And it
mhm,
just kept growing and growing and growing. Um, and I can only like think about this creature as so I'm looking at the spirals on its back and on its head as the chakras. I'm seeing that it's it's a blooming creature with the Sahasra chakra, which is the top chakra being like very open, and Sa is the musicality, which is the tone of the like bass tone of this creature is universal.
mm,
And I'm just seeing something that is embracing itself and walking forwards. And as it is doing that, it's unlocking its potential throughout its spine. And like I said, I have to interpret it the same way another reader would. So everybody would see and find something else. And the poetry on the side is just talking about how the wind has a mind or it doesn't have a mind, how the sounds of when each granule of sand comes together, there's a sound to it. So it's talking about like focusing on the smaller things and everything is inside it. And I think that's why this painting chooses a small creature to show that the whole universe can still be inside it and can still carry the whole world. on
It's
itself.
so amazing because this is such a collective, it's such a symbol from the collective unconscious and consciousness of having this creature that to me, I'm looking at it as like the beetle that's rolling the dung up the hill or the beetle against the red sun, and it's just so incredible to think about, especially when we're working with the breath, when we're doing things that are led from this invisible life force that runs through us, and the stories that it delivers if you just like let yourself be in the breath. It's so powerful to see that everything breathes, and the stories that come out through just focusing on the breath it's a collective story and a personal story. It's both, obviously, but it's just so powerful to see what just comes through if you just approach art in an embodied way and realize that it's actually that we're vessels of this great energy, whatever that is. It's just so beautiful. I love this. Okay, I'm going to keep
Yeah.
moving on because it's really hard for me to move through pieces because I get really enraptured by pieces when I'm looking at them. So I always try to say when I'm doing these talks, and I just want to remind the people that are watching this to rewatch this and go through the slideshow and notice how your body responds to these pieces and who lives in these pieces and what parts of you live inside the pieces that we're going to be looking at today. Okay. So the colors on this are absolutely incredible. And is this the same kind of paper that you're
It
working
is,
with?
yes. It is the same kind of paper, although the colors on this one are water-based and the previous one was acrylic. So you can see the difference in texture a little bit more. Um, yeah,
So what is
this.
this piece bring? What is this about, or how did this? I'm seeing so much. Like I'm just going to throw out my
Yeah,
associations
go
here,
on,
but
yes.
just like I love the. I mean, I guess it's her right breast. It's on my left side, but I love the spider web feeling of this and the sense of the spider web's connection to the great mother. The pattern of the snake coming in from above is amazing, like maybe this like kundalini energy coming through the center. It's just,
Wow.
I love this so much.
Thank you. It's a very interesting piece. It's one of the first pieces I made in Margate, if not the first, one of the first pieces. And like I can see 1,000 layers
Yeah.
inside it of the same person. And when you see multiple eyes and the breast with the web, it's to me, and the lines, the dotted lines, to me, it's showing a full realization and connection with everything. Like your multiple selves are looking at things in different ways, yet the multiple selves are connected. So, like part of you could be at peace, part of you could be working through a problem, part of you could be angry. And there's like you keep going into those parts and you see that it's connected to, for example, rhythm of the sea, the skies, and like basically there's like layers and layers and layers of you resonating with different kinds of things in the world, material and immaterial. Whereas the left side to me is sort of focused in on itself in being complete. So a contrast of everything and nothing, and both being the same. Like nothingness is bigger than everything or as big as everything, and everything is bigger than nothing or as big. And the left side is sort of fully realized and it's absolutely at peace and looking at itself and being connected in a different way. It can see everything, but it's not everything, but it can see everything. Whereas the
Mm,
right side is basically all the layers of everything. So almost like a cross section. If you take a tree, for example, and imagine that on one side you created a cross section and you see all the lines and the lines and the lines and the lines of the tree inside. On the other one, it's like a bark
mm,
and which is bearing fruits. It's the same tree, but there's a lot going on when you cut through the layers of it. So I think this painting, it's called dhyan, which means focus. So it's
There,
basically different levels of focus. Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad that you just brought that in with the focus because it is interesting that, looking at the difference between the left and the right side, but both sides are very expansive depending on how your vision is. There's this idea of spaciousness and possibility. And then also there's this idea of like, the expansiveness of layers can go on forever. I'm curious about what is underneath. I'm curious about how far the right side expands. It's a life lived. It's very compelling. Um, and the
Thank you.
colors are just amazing.
I
Okay.
also like want to say that there's no one right way to look at universality. Like, like there are different schools of yoga and this and that and lots of ways. But I think through this painting, I'm also saying your way is can be whatever. It doesn't have to look like one or the other. So it's also challenging the idea of if a Buddha looks like completely stoic, is stoicism the answer? Or can it be other kinds of universality? So I think there's a little bit of that going on as well.
Yeah, and it definitely, it's sort of what we were just talking about the expansiveness can come in this idea of space or that there's so much more there. So, yes, Buddha might be presented sitting in this stoic way, but again, you can see like the expansiveness going behind, around, above, if you
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
so,
yeah.
okay, I love it. These are my favorite colors, so I was so compelled when I was looking at this. And also, I wish I weren't so blind. I'm like, what does it say? I gotta see. So I really am interested to talk about this.
Where, what did you say? Sorry, the last bit.
I was saying that I was just saying that because I'm so blind, I was like bringing the screen up to me, and I'm just so compelled to hear about this because everything about this, the lines, the spirals, the colors, I feel now I'm seeing more as I'm just sitting here looking at it, but this I could look at for hours and days.
Thank you. I think this is a very, I don't know, this is the first painting of this year, almost towards year end and that time. Like, uh, this is like one of the earliest paintings from my gallery, my new gallery. Um, and I think Margate is a seaside town. And so I think Margate has a lot to do with the colors I chose. And I think the creatures that have come out in this are very multifaceted. Like they're beyond my thinking. Like every time I show this painting to somebody and I ask, what do you see? Everybody says a different thing. Like somebody says that they see a whale, somebody says they see spider web, somebody says they see a female form, some person said they see a tooth, wings, birds. And I think it's just I was trying to like what I write over here is about the seven sources. So when we look at the uh, like sare gama padhani is like do re mi fa. Like when we look at the seven notes and how it comes together in different forms of music, this to me is the seven notes which can make
Mhm.
any music you want to see. So every time you
Mhm.
see it with you just are making combinations. These are like raw notes left for you to make combinations of. And if you have those seven notes, you can ultimately make whatever you want. And I think it says fragments of music dive into the circles of Sa. And I think it's just, to me, like when I look at it, I look at music being left in water to create pieces. So imagine there's like water bowl and you physically say drop music in it and it'll keep making new shapes with the ripples. And I think this painting is a living dynamic piece to me that every time I look at it, I see a different shape because of the shape. It's a shape made in water. And yeah, so I think that's what's happening. As you can see, I have to also interpret the paintings just like anybody else. I don't
Well,
have
right. And
greater
when
insight.
you are painting, because this is really interesting, first I have to say that like the patience that this would take for me, there's no way. I mean, I might do this with like I like doing pattern making with like microns, but doing this with a paintbrush would be very difficult, I think, and frustrating for me. So when you are when you're working on a piece like this, are you working on a macro or a micro? Are you out or are you in? Or are you moving back and forth?
I think it's both at once. So yeah, more like leaning back and forth, but it's also not leaning back and forth. It's, like when say you're dancing, you are both creating a pattern in a dance which makes sense to the music, but you also really have to be in sync with the tune for the full pattern to come out. And I
Mm,
think it's a practice like that there is no zoomed out view without you being tuned in, and there's no tuned in without you being zoomed out. So I
mm.
think it's once again coming back to focus and a bit of surrender, like letting go. So if you like, I am not too bothered about what happens in the end, but it's important to me that I am in the zone while I'm doing it. In this piece, for example, I drew the big white lines first and then went on the smaller ones. So like I said, it is usually both, and then I'll come back and then do some other things. So it's a bit of a dance, really. And
Yeah.
you can't quite say, while you're dancing, you can't quite say, right? Like, where are you? You're everywhere and nowhere.
Right. Right. Exactly. So, in your pieces, before we just move on to this
Mm.
piece, are there hidden things beneath the like? I'm just going to use this piece as an example, but we don't have to talk about this piece specifically. Beneath this redness, is there something that I don't know about?
How do you mean?
I mean, is there writing? Is there some kind of like sometimes in pieces that I do, there's a little ritual that might happen that nobody sees that's sort of behind the surface of what's presented on the outside. So do you have
This,
any
yeah.
rituals that are what are the unseen rituals in your pieces?
I do not like, there's a lot of layers, so there might be something hidden, but none of that is very purposeful.
Hmm.
Like, I am not going in with that when I paint, that let me do this or that. I really do start with the paper as the guiding rhythm. And in a way, you can say that is beneath, and that's not made by me. It's made by the artist
Hmm.
who made the paper. And then I just go with a flow, which is, in this painting, the movement of the pens, etc., are in a certain way. There is a lot to look at in most of the paintings. Like, if you keep looking, you'll keep finding new things. But I
Hmm.
haven't purposefully hidden them. They are
Yeah.
very much on the surface, yet I think it's impossible is a big word, but I'm going to use it because to me they're quite infinite. Like, I'm not on purpose hiding anything, but I do think that every time you look at it, you'll find something new as if something were hidden. And that's the
What do
nature
you
of breath.
Yeah, and what do you think when you are creating these pieces? What do you feel like you are in relationship to? Like, how do you know when? So, if I were, this is just me
Mm-hmm.
thinking about, okay, if I were doing something like this, I think that how I would begin is just I'd follow the feel of my own body and then I would start making lines. And then at some point, I'm obviously you're in relationship to the paper, you're in relationship to your breath, then something starts coming out. And then when do you know that you're in relationship with other?
So, to be very honest with you, the paintings are way ahead of me. I don't think that I am even a fraction of what comes out on the paper.
Mhm.
And I learned this quite literally through my paintings. Like I have multiple examples where I think I want to make something and I'm very like passionately thinking that it's not outwardly. I'm like, oh, I'm going to actually make this coffee colored, or I'll do this, or I really don't want to do this. But what comes out is none of that. It's like there have been times where I have started a painting with a palette around me and that color in
Yeah.
mind. And honestly, it was a coffee color painting which ended up being completely blue. Like there's no relationship. And
Hmm.
there is a painting where I was making I was working on a very, very, very divine material for me. It was a handmade cloth from Kutch, and I started painting and snakes started coming out. And I was like, I don't want to make snakes. I really don't want to make snakes. And I kept telling myself, and it's a dialogue with myself. There's no audience, nothing, right? So I'm sitting there, I'm like, please, I don't want to make snakes. But snakes is what kept coming out. I even tried to physically change the snake into a tree, and then it became a giant, say, snake tree. So that painting has a lot of, like, that painting has a long story to it. But what I learned while I was making that is that the paintings, the pen, the atmosphere, the environment, all of it is ahead of me. It is
Yeah.
doing its thing, and there's a lot of symbology that I don't understand, which is in my paintings. It's only when it comes out and say my mother or somebody else looks at it and goes like, "Oh, that's that," and I'm like, "Oh, what is that?" And then I read about it and I'm like, "That's exactly what it is." But I
Right.
am the last one to know. So I'm not at all, I it's it's not to be modest or anything, but I truly cannot take a lot of credit for what's coming out. I think there's a lot
No,
of
I understand.
information.
Yeah, I understand completely. And I think that that's what is so incredible about there's pros and cons to being like a classically trained artist. I mean, I guess it's really great if you see a banana and you really want to draw the banana and you want to be able to do the shadowing and the shading and you want it to look like it's three-dimensional. But there's also to me, it's something about like it's so limiting, you know. I feel the same thing. I feel the same way about yoga. Like you can be taught yoga and go to a yoga class and do the yoga thing, but when you have your own practice every day, something different comes through, you know. And I just feel like I don't know, I feel that I can feel this in your artwork, that it's something that is coming through organically, and that's what makes it so compelling
And it's way
because
more advanced than I am. Like to me, the paintings are
yes,
way more
because it's coming
advanced,
from a
way,
different society, it's coming from a different realm.
yes, it's tapping into like it's tapping into things that I wish I I could like I feel extremely grateful basically that the paintings are able to tap into something which I on purpose would never be able to. It's only because I have a medium. I also write poetry in the same method, and a lot of the lines that come out are things that I've not thought about, I've not heard. There are words I've not heard before, and then I go and dictionary it. So there's lots that sits within us, in our ancestry, in our heritage, that we really do not understand our potential. And to me, painting as a medium, beyond me, like anybody's, not anybody's, like some artist paintings, it truly shows you that while it's a small piece of paper, there is endless possibilities to life. Like you start somewhere and anything can happen. You know, you started this woman, it could become a cat, it could, anything can happen. And I think the paintings, what they really like, if I have to look at my paintings together and stand back, I think the only thing they keep saying over and over is that the space in which you work, whether it's a paper, your body, the world, your job, anything can happen within it. Like there's such a big area of possibility if you allow yourself to think outside a conditioned way of this is what a cat looks like or this is what a banana looks like.
Yeah,
If you go beyond that, anything is possible. A banana could be a half a banana and half a lion. It can happen. And
right.
I think the painting comes back and tells that to you that there is, if you want, then there is limitlessness within any limits. And yeah, that's where I feel like I can, if as a person I knew that, I wouldn't be uh, a person at all. I would be somewhere in a different realm, but I'm definitely
Yeah.
one of those very average people with a lot of all the problems that everybody has. But during the painting process, I am aware that this is something way bigger than my own intellect.
So how do you know when you have there's a couple of things that I'm thinking about with the way that you work. One is that, once you exhibited your work, I feel like all of us, we all have this, not all of us, a lot of us as creatives, we feel like, we're tapping into an unknown source a lot of the
Yeah,
times. But then at
yeah,
some point, depending on how people respond to it or what's going on in our lives or just the way that the world operates, there's a point where like our ego will start kind of coming up like and want to control or want to create more so you can have another show. I'm not saying that this is you. I'm just saying that like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
how do you know, is there a moment when you're working that you're like, okay, now I'm feeling like myself, my ego is starting to come into this and I'm going to put it down? And do you have moments like that where you feel yourself entering into this room that maybe your conscious mind doesn't belong?
That's such a good question. And it's such a difficult question as well, because I wish I knew this much about myself. The truth is that I try not to interfere at all, really, because it, like I said, I've had some supernatural kind of experiences with these paintings, like the snake one. I like the person who, forget society for a second. The person who has the most control you would imagine over it would be the person making it, right?
Yeah.
And when I am actively saying I don't want to make the snakes, and yet the snakes are coming out, that point I understand that the person, like a society or constructs or gallery walls or sales, cannot direct something like this at all. I'll quickly tell you the snake story because it's coming over and over. So it was a triptych. It was a triptych of three paintings, and it was this beautiful cloth that I was absolutely in love with. So I wanted it to be so beautiful. And I shut myself in a room for around 10 days and I said, I'll work on this painting. And at that time, I was not exhibiting or anything. And I was like, I really want to make something beautiful out of it. And because it was such a special piece of cloth, and I now live in England, access to that kind of cloth is very rare. So I was trying to be more like regulated than my usual self. So
Okay,
the
yeah.
first thing I started to try making, the first triptych, the snakes came out. I was like, whatever. I tried not to make it. I actively tried not to make it. I know this. But eventually I gave in. Then the second one, I didn't try anything. I was like, anyways, I'm going to embrace the snakes. If snakes have to come out, that's what's going to happen. So the second part of the triptych, a lady-like figure came out and she's wearing like a garland of snakes. And I was okay with it. Beautiful. And the third one, I don't ask my partner, but in this particular one, I was like, what do you think I should paint? And he said you should actually make a union of the two or something like that. And I just usually just listen to it and don't really listen to it. But this time I actually did make the union of it. And it was around midnight. It was change of year. I think it was 2022 to 2023 or 21 to 22. It was change of year. And at midnight, music was going on, and I so I heard this mantra on the radio, or not the radio, the music I was listening, and it was sort of a normal playlist. It wasn't a mantra playlist. This mantra happened to be in that playlist, and it was a Spotify thing, so it was repopulating itself. And I heard the mantra Karpur Gauram Karnavtaram Sansar Saram Bhujgendra blah blah blah. And I'm almost finishing my painting, and I'm hearing it over and over now. And this is not the music that was going on from the beginning, from the last 10 days. This is now. And I was like, and I am not so well versed in Sanskrit, but I could understand that something is going on in the what I'm listening to and the painting. So I was like, okay, let me translate it. And the translation literally was to the god of snakes, who wears the garland of snakes, and the deity, I surrender to the union of the two of you. And I was like, what? And this is midnight that this happened. Honestly, 1,000 mountains broke in me. There's no way I knew this is what I'm painting, and there is no way like there is there is like no way I could have known that is what it is. That is what's going to come out. And a few days later, I have a Swedish friend. He was visiting, and I just asked him randomly. I was like, "What kind of tree are you?" And he said, "I'm an oak tree." "What kind of tree are you, Shringi?" And I said, "You know what? Today I feel like I'm a fern." And he said, in Swedish, a fern is translated as snake bush. And this kind of stuff just kept happening in that month.
Right,
And then I real like I really needed this experience to happen to me, I think, because this is the answer to the question you're asking. How does society or a gallery or this is selling direct the work? Of course, there's a layer of me which is quite superficial, which cares about these things. And when a painting sells, it's great. I feel like people are connecting to it. But that is such a thin layer on top of what is happening that that
right,
is never able to really control the story of the snakes. It's way beyond
right.
my intellect. That's why I know so clearly and viscerally that it's not just a theory, that these are way beyond my intellect. I have experienced it through the paintings over and over, that these are their own things, and I'm just a very small part of their story.
Yeah, wow. That's incredible. And in terms of that, when you're talking about, so I want to talk about your relationship to the breath and how it moves. Does the breath actually move your hand, or does the breath actually, can you talk about the relationship between your breath? I know you got into it a little bit, but can you get a little bit deeper on that?
So if you'll notice, no two lines are the same, obviously, because they're two lines, but they also don't have the exact same rhythm. Or, you can make parallel lines and make it very. There are art styles, the Madhubani art style in Bihar, where they make like parallel lines. That's a huge part of the inspiration here, by the way, because my ancestry is from Madhuban and they make those line paintings.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was making these paintings, I did not know I'm being guided by breath. I had learned Kriya Yoga as a teenager. And it's when I was practicing Kriya Yoga, I was also making these paintings and writing my poetry. I did not understand the connection for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
that this is what
Mm-hmm.
is guiding my technique. But looking back in hindsight, I see that when I learned that is when my creative side really unlocked. And it's only now I can see, oh, it's the same method that I'm using. So it's not literal as much as, I'm breathing in and then that's the line. It's more like in yoga, how you concentrate on the spine and the breath. It's that level of focus and rhythm of going up and down. And
Yeah.
so I'm just in the rhythm of oneness as much as I can while I'm doing these paintings. And whenever I like, the breath is the carrier of that rhythm because it's always there. So I'm basically in tune with myself, and I use breath as the term to say in tune with myself, because it's the breathing rhythm that is basically the most accurate if I say what's the rhythm behind them.
Yeah. Wow. This is an incredible piece. The
Thank you.
colors are just so beautiful. And again, it's on the same side. You have this vastness on the left side and, the vastness on the right side in a different way. It's just, and the colors are just exquisite. Wow. So when you're writing in Sanskrit in these,
It's
what?
Hindi actually.
Oh, it's
Hindi.
Hindi. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes it's Sanskrit, but 99% of time it's Hindi. Yeah.
What distinguishes the difference between Sanskrit and Hindi in writing?
It's a different script, the Sanskrit
Okay.
script and the Hindi script. So yeah, it's Sanskrit is the root language, similar to the difference between Latin and English.
Oh, okay. Great. Thank you. Okay,
Actually,
so
it's
I
very
feel like,
interesting that you pointed out the right and the left, because until speaking to you, I did not notice that this painting has the same kind of dynamic as the one we talked about earlier. This is the
hmm
first time I'm seeing that I'm doing this right and left thing. So I need to
yeah.
study and make sure I'm doing
Okay, so I want to just briefly talk about this. this painting, but also I have to go back and I just want to note that there's something about a togetherness and a separateness now. This is just my own, obviously, association. And these are two different creatures, but there is something to the
You're very,
relationship between these two.
you're very, very receptive, Stacy. I made these paintings almost the same time, but I did not send it to you like that. But you were able to tell that they
Hmm.
are related. Um, they are very much like that one I call it twins, and this one I call mother and daughter. And
Mm,
it's basically how within yourself you have different types of self, some in unison and some in conflict. And conflict doesn't mean it is like conflict can be seen as, oh, I don't want this part, but that's what makes you who you are. And I think the two paintings are talking about that kind of relationship with the multiple selves inside you, and how you like identity. We often make identity very unilateral, and in these paintings, almost all of these paintings, we I am interested in the duality of who we are. I am interested in the contradiction. I'm interested in, say I get up one day and say I am a vegetarian or I am vegan, and I say that I like yoga, but I'm very much interested in the parts of me who don't like yoga, or who don't want to comply to an image, who don't want to believe in one type of sexuality or this or that. So it's these paintings are a lot about em- more than embracing, understanding different parts of yourself, and how a mother and daughter can exist in the same. The reason I call this daughter is because parts of you as a person are motherly, parts of you as a person are daughterly. And you know how an adolescent daughter is wanting more. Similarly, parts of you want more from yourself, yet you need yourself to continue. So this painting is about the togetherness of the conflicting types and what we need from each other, from the selves inside us. And the other
mm.
one was about there's something around the corner. If you keep circling with your embracing your different selves, not just one self, but all of yourselves, and you keep circling this time that we're in, eventually you'll turn a corner. The more, like how I imagine is that you start with one and then it became two, and then there'll be more, and then there'll be more, and you'll keep turning the corner and you will meet your infinite selves.
Well, and it's like this. I mean, you have a lot of spirals in your pieces, but it's that idea of the spiral. You're always coming back to this center, but every time you circle out, it's a little deeper, it's a little bit different, it's a little bit wider, there's a little bit more perspective to it. Yeah, this is I love these two. Do you have these two pieces yourself?
This one is sold,
Uh-huh.
but the other one I have, the twins I have.
Oh, it's so sad selling pieces. I mean, I know that, I don't know, there's something about it that's just, oh, I wonder how they feel about one another being separated.
Yeah.
I love
I
this
am
so
like
much.
I have a different relationship with selling. I don't feel that I was talking to Tracy about it as well, and she was like, selling is really separating a painting to your from yourself. And for me, because I think I'm such a small part of it, when somebody buys it, I'm like, that's the journey it needs to take. Like it needs
Yeah, it's like
to,
closing the circle or starting
yeah,
it or going
it's
back to the center of the
yeah,
spiral.
and something else will happen with it, and then something else, somebody will put it in a bin even, and it doesn't rattle me because my attachment to them is like they're so much bigger than me, so they can go wherever they like.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. This is such an amazing piece, and it's reminding me of like the Wild Man. Maybe because I was just listening to something about the Wild Man the other day, and I don't know what this piece is, but I just love the idea. This is to me feels so much like a folk tale.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. It's
who
got
is
some
this?
Celtic vibes to it.
Yeah, it definitely does. And it's just, I want to know more. Like, this is a piece that I would love to write a fairy tale around. And I love the idea of, I'm sure that all of your pieces can be looked at like this clearly, because they have this similar theme of just mark making and line drawing. But for me, in this piece in particular, I feel like I'm looking at a map. Um, I'm
That's
very
interesting. Yes.
intrigued. It feels like an overhead view, and I'm seeing like it's like a fantasy map. I love it.
I
I
love it
can't wait
too.
to spend more time with these pieces. And again, please, everybody, go back and look at these. I know it's really easy to when you're watching a podcast or listening to something to be really intrigued while you're looking through something and then just say, wow, that was great. Now I'm going to go pay my electricity bill or whatever it is and go to the market. But there's something about, I mean, creativity is such a powerful force. And these images that we're looking at are being channeled through from source, and maybe you came to this teeny tiny podcast to see this like it was just here for you. So that's just something to really consider when you look at pieces. For me, is that am I missing something? Not that I have to look at the details. It's not, that's
Mhm.
really amazing looking at the details. But I love looking at pieces like this where I'm like, okay, how does this act? How am I receiving this? How is my skin receiving it? How does my breath change? Like right now, like I'm getting goosebumps right now. Like, why? You know what I mean? I don't know why. I'm not going to be here to try and explain it, just like
Mm.
you are not here to say how the painting should or shouldn't be. It's just coming through. So, I just want to encourage people that when you're looking at this work or any work, messages, alternate universes, spirits, angels, source, wisdom, whatever it is, things are coming through, but only if you take a moment and
Mm.
just consider it. So I really want people to think about that as they're looking through this. Okay, so this is just a video of you in process that I wanted to share. And how important is music in your practice?
Um, Internal music is of utmost importance, the music that keeps going inside you. External music is not as important. So, music is very important to me, but it doesn't have to be music playing on speakers or headphones. It can just be a lot of times I do not actively play music. And when I do
Uh-huh.
play music, it has to be quite uh, Indian classical or folk or rhythmic music. Uh,
Hmm.
and I keep it quite subtle. So if you come to my gallery, you'll have this very like kind of simple, subtle music going on, or no music at all. The gallery is called Sa. Sa is the root note of music. So music is extremely important to the to rhythm and breath, but not necessarily me listening to music. That's not so important.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go into this piece just for a moment, but I wanted
It's
to just
hanging
ask
here.
about, yeah, oh, hello. Yeah. There's something about this piece stood out to me because it's so much more, I want to say that the colors are so much softer. And to me, what it feels like is it is this feeling of this woman stepping forward. Like it's very much, she's very forward to me because I'm not so in the colors as much. I'm much more in, I want to know more about her.
Yeah, yeah. She is so powerful. Is every time I see her, I feel like she's got it. Like
Yeah.
she doesn't need any, like she's fully awakened when I see her. Like I look at her crown, I look at her face, I look at her eyes, and I just feel like she's fully beyond her own skin, if so to say.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
her mind, body, soul are so much in sync, and she just doesn't need paper or her body or anything to exist. She's, to me, she's like floating in the air, but with
I'm
so much
so
strength.
curious about her eye gaze.
Do you know what? One of the eyes, this one is, I when I look at it, I think about an orange and
Uh,
the tiny like fibers and
oh,
juice.
yes, 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 yes.
Like when you look at a peel and then you see there's so much going on in there. When I look at this eye, I see like that depth of fertility in her, that she can make anything possible. Like, when we were talking about dhyan, and we were saying that person can look at anything and be anything, but this one, I feel like she can make anything, she can make anything possible. She can bear fruits, she can take something and manipulate it and make something else out of it. There's also structural change in this painting. Like, the bricks, I see a city kind of thing, like a structure. When I see near her armpits, the bricklaying and stuff.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
So I feel
Yeah.
like her strength is in the contemporary world as much as in the ruins. Like,
Mm,
very much embodying past, present, future across all kinds of timelines.
yeah.
And so, like this side of the painting, the right side going beyond the paper is, I think, symbolizing how much more there is. And similarly, the crown, once again, the third eye is fully realized. Like, her third eye is eye inside eye, and a very big third eye.
Mm,
And I
mm.
think that's where she is so much beyond the realm of where we exist. And I think it's very interesting that you say that it feels like she's moving forward, like, because she's literally beyond the paper to me, and the
Right.
paper is so beautiful that it's letting it float over it.
Well, and there's so many bridges and tunnels and
Yes,
passageways in this. It's
yes,
really
yes.
just
Like,
incredible. It's
yeah,
infinite, the infinite possibility here.
yeah. The waistline has like so much arches and within arches within arches. So there's like endless things happening. There could be a tiny
Yes.
war happening somewhere in her waist somewhere, like, which might be the biggest war happening in the world right now, and it might be just a small line when it comes to her waist.
Yeah. Beautiful. Wow. Okay, I'm going to go past this drawing just because of time, because I want to
Yeah.
talk about, but these will all be at the end. Ugh, I don't want to go past any drawings, but I feel like I need to. But we'll just take a little breath at each one. Wow. I need to do a whole second podcast with you. I was really interested in this process video. So I just wanted to make sure that we had a little time for this. So can you talk a little bit about what you're doing there?
I made this painting in a very dark room, actually. So I was making it at home, and it was last winter, so dark, quite dark time, like literally dark in terms of low light. And I was in flow, so I was just making the painting in darkness. So I used a lot of white so that I can see the painting when I'm making it. So the painting has these white lines and lots of it. And this was me when I finally put the painting in light, and like saw it, and it was just really jumping at me. And I found it beautiful, but then I wanted to show the duality. Like, it was as if you could, like the previous painting, we said that she's coming forward, was the white lines like totally forward.
Right, right.
And what I was feeling was different than what I was seeing. So I had actually hung this painting and it was finished. And I rarely ever go back. But I had this urge of kind of going over it. And that's why I recorded it, because I usually don't go over things. I usually
Right,
let it be. And I want this painting is a lot about, once again, duality, and it's more like in the this axis rather than this axis.
right above and below. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I was just going over muting the white so you can see the person behind. So,
Okay.
like the previous painting, you want to see the lines. And in this one, I was muting the lines away so you can see who's underneath it. So that's what's happening in that one.
Okay. Gosh. I have to say that this has been such a treat. First of all, just speaking with you, but it's been just a visual feast for me.
Nice.
I could spend probably a year looking at each one, just looking at a section of one of your paintings. There's so much there. And for me, it's just so feel like there's a lot of synchronicity in this discussion for me. Because I'm very much in a world of spirals right now, really considering spirals, thinking into spirals. And there's your work is, it's not about the images that you have a lot of spirals in your work. It's about the spiral, capital
Nature of
S.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, just like in it. And even the music that you choose to bring in is a spiral. Like I know that you said that you have internal music, but the chanting, the things that have
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
it's a spiral. So
Yes.
it's just I just love this so much. And I'm so grateful that you were able to come and spend time with me and
Oh,
that
thank you
people
so much, Stacy.
get to
Yeah.
have access to your magic. And on the if on the website or on the whatever we call this, we're going to place in the liner notes the Instagram page and the website for the gallery. I don't know if there's a gallery website or if you have a website, and yeah, how you can get in touch. So thank you so much for joining me today. It's
Thank you,
just been
Stacy. It
wonderful.
was such a treat.
Oh, treat for me too.